Bruh, y'all want to see a Democrat train wreck in slow motion? Then you should watch this clip of Nancy Mace absolutely destroyed a fugitive Texas Democrat by the name of Senfronia Thompson. Okay, this clip right here, guys, is literally what the Republican Party should be doing when asked about the whole conspiracy theory of voter suppression because of election integrity laws. So without further ado, I just want you guys to watch this absolute beauty of an argument from Nancy Mace as she destroys this clueless fugitive Democrat with facts and logic. Take a look.
My understanding is you were elected in 1972 in Texas. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Right, and I applaud you for making history, I imagine, in Texas and being a strong voice for black men and black women. Coming from South Carolina, we've got voter ID, and I'm assuming Texas is the same way. Do y'all need IDs to buy alcohol when you're purchasing at the store?
Yes, if, to be sure that you are capable of doing that.
Right. Do you need an ID in Texas to buy cigarettes?
You can't buy them unless you're at least 21.
But do you have to show an ID to buy cigarettes?
You do have to show an ID.
Do you need an ID when you're getting a job and trying to get on payroll in Texas?
Yes.
Do you need an ID to go to the pharmacy and get a prescription in Texas?
It depends on this prescription.
But do you need an ID for some prescriptions
Yes,
in Texas?
You do. Yes.
Do you need an ID to get Social Security services in Texas?
You do.
Do you need an ID to rent an apartment in Texas?
Yes.
Do you need an ID if you're going to buy a house and finance it via a mortgage in Texas?
Yes.
Do you need an ID in Texas if you're going to board an aircraft and fly commercial?
Yes.
Did you fly commercial or fly a private jet on the way to D.C.?
A chartered plane.
Do you have to show an ID when you fly in a private charter jet?
Yes.
I wouldn't know. I've never flown on one. So did you need an ID to get in the building here today?
Yes.
Do you need an ID in Texas to open a bank account?
Yes.
To cash your check if you're working. Do you know, Representative Thompson, what percentage of blacks in Texas, black and brown African Americans, are registered to vote?
Oh, a huge percentage.
70%. Do you know what percentage of African Americans, black and brown Texans have voted on average or in the last election?
About 64%.
Correct. Do you know how many whites are registered to vote in Texas?
Far more than African Americans.
72%. You have 70% of blacks in Texas who are registered to vote. You have 72% of whites in Texas who are registered to vote. Do you know the percentage of whites who turned out to vote in recent elections?
I want to say over 50-some percent.
65%.
Yeah.
Do you know what percentage of Hispanics are registered to vote in Texas?
No, I do not.
63%. Do you know what percentage of Hispanics voted in the last election?
I think it was over 40%.
53%. Hispanics are not voting in as high numbers as blacks and whites in Texas. Do you know the percentage of Democrats that support voter ID?
Would you repeat your question?
Do you know the number or percentage of Democrats who support voter ID in this country?
I do not, but I don't think it's a whole lot.
72%. Do you know the number of black and brown and African Americans in this country who support voter ID?
No.
75%. Do you know the number of Hispanics that support voter ID in this country?
No.
81%. Do you know where the state of Texas is ranked with black voter turnout in this country?
Would black voters turn out?
Mm-hmm. Do you know where Texas is ranked?
Oh, about 44%.
The latest numbers that I read this morning was that Texas is ranked 10th. Do you know where Texas is ranked? So then top 10 in the country. Do you know where Texas is ranked with women voters?
Oh, way up in the 50s.
In the bottom third of this country. So I would argue that Texas has a more difficult problem with getting women out to vote than black and brown and African Americans. Thank you, and I yield back.
All right, guys. So as you can see there, Miss Senfronia Thompson, She was clueless. She knew nothing about her own state in regards to the voting statistics. But yet she goes out there and she trots out the conspiracy theory that there's some type of voter suppression going on that's keeping black people and Hispanics from voting. But when you actually look at the facts, the data and the facts, oh, that argument fell apart, and Miss Nancy Mace presented those facts beautifully, okay? She said 70% of blacks are registered. 72% of whites are registered, which means there's no disparity in registration. There's no disparity, right? Little to none. 64% of blacks voted. 65% of whites voted. No disparity. Where's all the so-called voter suppression? Where's it at? Where's it at? Show me. Because damn near the same percentage of blacks voted as whites. So if Texas is truly suppressing the black vote, they're doing a terrible job at it, at least when it comes to making sure more white people vote than blacks, right? Because that's the argument. The argument is that they're trying to suppress the black voices, right? They just want white folks to vote. So why in the hell is the percentage of blacks and whites that voted in Texas damn near the same, right? Why is that? See, you notice how liberals never present these type of facts when it comes to talking about voter ID laws. They never present this stuff. Okay, 63% of Hispanics registered and 53% of Hispanics voted. Again, so a much more legitimate narrative will be about Hispanics. But see, even then, I mean, listen, a 10% difference in Hispanics between whites and blacks, I'm not too worried about that, right? You know, that's not something really to be pressed about. That doesn't mean there's some type of voter suppression going on. Maybe Hispanics are just not that politically involved. I think that's a more logical explanation. And then she hits her with 75% of black people support voter ID. 81% of Hispanics support voter ID. 72% of Democrats support voter ID. And as she's asking her these questions, Miss Senfronia Thompson, who's supposed to be a state representative, right, doesn't know any of this stuff. She says stuff like, I don't know. I don't think there's a whole lot of Democrats that support voter ID. I mean, she's just guessing, right? Just getting it wrong on every single answer. Texas ranked 10th in black voter turnout. Texas ranked in the bottom third for women in voting, in which Nancy Mace beautifully says, listen, I think that if there's an argument about voter suppression, right? If y'all want to talk about voter suppression, women, Texas has a bigger problem with women voting than they do with black people voting. But see, Democrats will never make that argument because that really doesn't make sense on its face, right? You can't suppress women from voting, right? That would be very, very, very hard to do. Okay, so they don't even make that argument, even though statistically speaking, that would be a more legitimate argument. That's how weak of an argument they have in regards to this voter suppression stuff based off race. There's just no facts and evidence to back it up. The Supreme Court is not on their side. The facts and evidence are not on their side. Nothing is on their side when it comes to this argument. All they have really are conspiracy theories. That's all they have. That's all they have. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, guys, it's not about black and brown voters, like them being suppressed. That's not what it's about. What it's really about is making it as easy as possible for certain people in this country to vote so that they can get more votes. That's all it's about. That's all it's about. They don't care about the integrity of the process. They don't care about that. All they want to do is stay in power. That's what they want to do. So they oppose common sense laws that don't discriminate against anybody, right? That shows up in the data. And then they turn around and they say, well, that's racist. As if you don't need an ID to do everything in life, right? Which Nancy Mace, again, beautifully pointed out. You need an ID literally to do anything. To have a life, you need an ID, right? To open a bank account, to get a house, buy a car, go to school, right? Get aid from the government. You need an ID. But for whatever reason, these Democrats act like it's so hard for black people to get an ID. Guys, I mean, this video of Nancy Mace should be shared 1 million times. 100 million times. Everybody in this country should see this video. Because this argument that she made right here is the single most effective argument I've ever seen in terms of demolishing the Democrat voter suppression conspiracy. It really is. It really is. That was beautiful. That was absolutely beautiful. She left that fugitive Democrat clueless because she obviously didn't know. But see, guys, this is, again, just how the Democrat Party rolls, right? It's obvious that rep has not done any research into this issue herself to say, okay, well, is the voter suppression narrative actually showing up in the data and statistics? She hasn't done that research. Matter of fact, she's 80 plus years old. She doesn't know what the hell is going on, right? She's up there with Sleepy Joe. And it showed in this hearing that she had nothing, that she did not know what was going on. But she just bought into the narrative because that's what she was told to say, right? So she followed along with the rest of the Democrat lackeys all the way to Washington, D.C. to get embarrassed, right? On multiple occasions. When it comes to, again, being on a private jet, not wearing masks on the jet, getting COVID. Now she's getting embarrassed in Congress when the whole Democrat conspiracy falls apart in the face of facts and evidence. The Democrat Party is a clown show. This is what I try to tell y'all. They depend on people's ignorance. They think their voter base is ignorant, so they make up conspiracies that are not grounded in any type of reality. And unfortunately, a large part of the country believes those things because they're susceptible to the victimhood narrative. Everybody wants to be victimized. Everybody thinks that somebody's out to get them and that somebody's against them. And obviously, this poor representative had bought into that and didn't do the research herself. And it's unfortunate that these type of people are holding public office in our country that don't know what the hell they're talking about. They're just going along with false narratives. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.